Aleyce Simmonds has released 4 albums, won 2 Golden Guitar Awards, the 2017 APRA Award for Country Work of the Year. She's twice been Australian Independent Female Vocalist of the Year, and she is a Hands of Fame inductee. And I think she's still a very young woman, so that's a lot to achieve. She's also a resident of the country music capital, Tamworth. In 2023, she became a mother to Georgia and released the song Being a Mother. This year, she has a really powerful new single, Things I've Learned. And I'm talking to her while she's sitting up at the Lookout in Tamworth. Hi, Aleyce.
Hello, Sophie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And just before we started recording, I noted that you found a good spot lighting-wise up there. That lookout, for people who know it, you're up really high, the sun's beaming down everywhere.
Lots of beautiful trees, and yeah.
Yeah. So did you grow up in Tamworth?
Well, I come from Tamworth, but I was born in Port Macquarie, and we moved here when I was in year 7. So, I did the best of my growing up in Tamworth.
Yeah, yes, you're definitely from Tamworth. Speaking of Tamworth, the festival has been on not that long ago, and you had your own show, which sounded like it was a combination of storytelling and singing. So how did that go?
It was really great. I had to have last year off, unfortunately, because I was very unwell after having Georgia. So I had to cancel everything, which was really heartbreaking. But this year I was determined to do a show, and being 20 years that since I released my very first single, Mighty Mighty Love, which is just nuts, I really wanted to do something special and intimate, so that the people that were in the crowd not only were the ones that really wanted to be there, because they'd obviously have bought tickets first and all that. It was just capped at 120, and but I really wanted to be able to share the songs and the stories from over the last 20 something years, just tell some stories from the road, and really make it very, very personal, which is sometimes hard when you're in a bigger room and people are, just dancing and yahooing. Not that people normally dance a great deal at my gigs. It's more of a, listening sort of show, but it was definitely a very, very special show. My band was just exceptional, and the people that were in the room just gave me back so much love. So it was really lovely.
So I remember reading Mighty Mighty Love has some kind of like there's accolade next to it, like it's the most played country work on Australian radio or something like that.
Yes, it's really crazy. I mean, I was 18 when I released that. It was my first. I'd just finished school, and it was the most played country song on commercial radio that year over anything. And it was just so weird for this little country kid that was 18, never done anything before, and for it to just resonate with people. And the radio stations just played it so much. And I ended up then being able to represent country music and Australian country music on such a huge stage, because I got to go, and sing on these commercial radio showcases and things with all these other pop artists. And it was just like this country kid and then all these pop artists and rap and whatever else. And it was really just the coolest thing ever. And I don't even know, someone actually said to me over the festival, it actually hadn't been beaten yet, but I actually don't believe that, because the Taylor Swifts and Luke Combs of the world surely have outdone little old Mighty Mighty Love.
Well, who knows? And also, were you in the Telstra Road to Tamworth? Am I remembering
Yes.
that? It doesn't exist anymore, but it was a great competition.
No, it absolutely was. It fostered talent so well. It was, like obviously like Toyota Star Maker, but just a little bit different. And it turned into the Telstra Road to Discovery after the Telstra Road to Tamworth. But as you know, Jessica Mauboy was the very first winner, and so it wasn't really all about country from the get-go. But it was just really, really an amazing competition. I was honoured 20 years ago to have won that.
I honestly can't believe you've been in it for 20 years. But it might also be interesting for you to have had Mighty Mighty Love do so well on the radio 20 years ago, and then see the genre developing into being a more popular genre, because that was commercial radio that it was played on.
Yes.
And I would also think there's possibly been a little bit of frustration, like the stop-start nature of it. It was like, well, I had this song Get Out. It did really well. Clearly there was an audience there for it. And then sort of like pulling back, pushing forward, that kind of.
Yes. To be honest, you absolutely hit the nail on the head, and no one's actually ever asked that before. It's been a very quite frustrating ride for so many reasons, but absolutely for that reason. I guess that commercial radio success was absolutely incredible. I was able to finish school and do my first show in Blazers at the Sunburnt Country Music Festival and nearly fill it. And I didn't have the chance to have built a fan base. You know, it was just it was all thanks to commercial radio and them getting behind my little old song. And then of course things actually deteriorated over the next sort of 5 years, and we saw crowds decreasing. We saw fees decreasing of what we got to go sing, you know, songs here and there, or live touring got tighter, you know, all that kind of stuff. It really did change. And I guess, you know, I talked with some of my friends that were around then, like Amber Lawrence or Diana Corcoran and Melinda Schneider, and we talk about that. And also something else that was really incredibly humbling, because my career has been stop-start for many reasons over the past 20 years. I was on such a great sort of roller coaster momentum, with great momentum earlier in my career, and then I got really unwell, and we didn't know what was going on, and we found that I had endometriosis and adenomyosis and polycystic ovaries and all these things. So I was actually having excision of these things and surgeries every sort of 6 months. So that was really difficult. And you know, having to back up and play a CMC Rocks or something like that, and having to bring a nurse side of stage, like it was a bit of a journey. But and then of course with this whole stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about with the new single with my daughter, and I get that was also definitely some hurdles there that I had to overcome. But sitting in the Golden Guitar Awards this year, looking up at Keith Urban, who I met 20 years ago in Nashville, it was to hear him talk made me feel relevant. It made me feel like I'm still where I'm supposed to be despite those stop starts, because his speech not only was unscripted, but he was up there talking about all the people that have been part of his career, and all of the people he spoke about and thanked had been part of my career 20 years ago. The Rob Potts of the world, and Greg Shaw, and Phil Payne, and just all the people, Jeff Walker, that he spoke about. I was like, I know that person, I know that person, I know that person. And I was looking around me thinking, and I don't think a lot of the artists in this room, except the older ones like me, or that have been around 20 plus years, know who the hell he's talking about. And it actually it made the whole journey feel like, wow, like I had one of those moments where I went, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And it felt really beautiful. So thanks, Keith.
Well, I think I can hear it in your voice with the new single as well, which we'll get onto. But I just want to acknowledge the incredible difficulty of what you just said about playing with a nurse side of stage while you're at a festival. So just in terms of the energy levels that are required to get on stage and play to a large crowd, like it's a small venue maybe, but to actually have all that going on, to be able to put a smile on your face, as you no doubt did, to get out there to perform, and having that nurse there in case anything went wrong, but knowing that it was a likelihood and that's why that person was there, that is a hardness, I guess, or a difficulty rather, that most people will never know. So that's why I want to acknowledge it. It's not really a question, but just to say, like, I'm in awe of you. That's incredible to do. It really is.
Yeah. Thank you. That's just so beautiful. But I think this music life is so much more than just getting out there and singing songs. It's about making people feel, and I'll never forget that time, because I think it was my third CMC Rocks. I'd also been in the band a couple of times for other artists at CMC Rocks, but I had surgery and I'd had excision, and it all went really well. And then I was living in Sydney with my sister at the time, and next minute, I just collapsed in a pool of red stuff, and my sister came in and sort of took me straight to the hospital, which was the nearest hospital was Manly, and I ended up very unwell with a post-op infection. And so when the doctor said I was no way getting clearance to do CMC, I said, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. This is not only one of the biggest music festivals in Australia. This is my life. This is my heart. I need to get these songs out there to those people out there. And so I guess the thing was that he let me go if a nurse came with me, which was wonderful. And I did get to do it. I did have to wear much bigger clothes than I, my clothes were quite big, actually, to be honest with you, because my body was so sensitive that obviously I couldn't have anything tied around my body and all that. So, and that was an effort in itself, just getting out there and being on stage and looking different to usual. But it was just one of those things that I feel I nearly said showbiz, in music, we put whatever's going on in our lives behind us and put the persona on and get out there and be brave.
I think it can be extra hard for women because of the expectations of how you are going to look. So that thing you mentioned about the clothes is like, you're going to have your makeup a certain way, your hair a certain way, dress a certain way. So it is a lot to carry, and you've been carrying it for a while. And I'm going to then take this into the song, because the song is called Things I've Learned. And I think this is all part of things you've learned. And you wrote it while you were pregnant with Georgia. So I'm wondering if there was one particular spark for it.
There absolutely was, Sophie. Like I guess I had many sparks that actually inspired this particular song. Of course, as you know, I released Being a Mother about 18 months before, and it was released a couple of days after I had Georgia. And that song was all about the journey in trying to have a baby, in trying to fall pregnant, and it just not happening. And every month just going more down this terrible rabbit hole. And, just 4 years later, listening to my sister go, Aleyce, you need to try it. And also, I just would love to say to anyone listening out there, don't always assume it's the female's problem. I don't actually think it's a problem either way if someone has a slight issue in not being able to fall pregnant. But get all the testing, both of you get all the testing and figure it out, and don't go down 4 years of this terrible ride like I did. Jump on it bigger and sooner, because it's just we're just so lucky to have all these beautiful, wonderful, medical interventions these days. But so we being a mother was about all of that, and then finally becoming pregnant. And then Things I've Learned is a little bit of a follow-on. I got terribly unwell when I was pregnant with Georgia, and I'm hoping I don't cry, because I can't really get through this very much without. I
don't mind if you do cry, but if you don't want to cry, it's fine to not talk about it.
Thank you. No, I need to talk about it. Thank you. Okay. But I started to become very unwell when I was pregnant with Georgia, and she was everything. I knew she was a little girl, and I just spoke to her all the time, and I told her that Mummy loves her all the time and all that. And when I sort of, I don't know, sometimes I think when you're pregnant, and I'm sure lots of women out there will know exactly what I'm talking about, there's not really anyone advocating for you as the mother. They're all advocating for the baby and to keep it in as long as possible. But I really, I was very, very truly unwell, and the midwives around me were listening, but the doctors weren't. And it got to the point where I nearly, we didn't really know what the outcome was going to be with me. I was damn sure that Georgia would make it, and I knew I'd made my parents and my family promise me that they would not let anything happen to her, and that they'd look after her forever and all that. But I wanted to leave something behind for Georgia in case of worst case scenario. And one night, in the thick of the insomnia period, which pretty well lasted the whole pregnancy for me, I got up and I started to put some things into song, some lessons that I'd learned over my life that I wanted for my daughter to listen to. I thought, if I'm not going to be around to tell her to be kind and ask for nothing in return, and to bleed and then forgive and all these things, who is? Mummies are such a special part of a child's life, and I wanted her to be able to listen to this song and go, that's my mummy, that's my mummy's heart, and to just know a little bit about me, and to also put this song out there so that anyone else that's ever been in the same sort of situation can play this to their kids and their nieces and their nephews, and know that they're so loved. And I think that's really what Things I've Learned is about.
Well, I'm crying too, so we're in it together. Because what I've just heard you say is that basically you were writing this thinking it was your epitaph in a lot of ways. Like you thought that, and I've been in a similar situation. I won't go into detail because we're talking about you, but I know what it's like mine was a lot faster, but I thought that was the end. You had a long time to
Sorry.
contemplate it. Please don't apologize. This is why it's important to understand the context of the art, because that's why I started off before we even started recording saying I heard something different in your voice. This is it. This is why, and I do think it's helpful for people to hear it talked about, because it helps them also appreciate you documenting it. But no wonder you had insomnia if you thought this was what might happen, that you may not be around for your child. Of course you were going to be lying awake wondering about things. And it's amazing that you, within all of that, had the ability, I think, to document it, because it could have just been everything's so scattered. Like my thoughts are out here, my energy is just everywhere. I just know what's going on. I can't bring that in. I can't rein it into a song, but you did. So, and you, as you said, you were unwell last year. I couldn't believe it when you put out being a mother around the time George was born. I thought, oh my God, like that's incredible. How's she done that? So I would like to talk about the singing, your voice on this song, because I think it's come from a different place. The first time I heard it, I thought I know Aleyce's singing voice, something sounds different. And then every time I've listened to it, there are these parts of it that are just, and I think they are coming from darkness is a big part of it. It's just this something that you've drawn out of you. So when you came to think about recording it, had you thought about how to sing it, or did it just come from an innate place like that?
I think, firstly, thank you for your beautiful words, and thank you for noticing, I guess. I'm not sure. I think that pregnancy definitely changed my voice. Having Georgia, being a mother, I was quite heavily pregnant and unwell singing it, so it sounds a lot lower for some reason. It sounds or something. But when I listened back to things I've learned, which obviously I only recorded a couple of months ago, so I had Georgia. And I had Georgia with me at the studio at the Central Coast, and I definitely wanted to put everything into it. I wanted for people to be able to hear my heart, but I think it came naturally a lot too. And even when I listened back to when I was singing the backing vocals, my sister and my brother-in-law actually sang the backing vocals throughout the song from here in Tamworth. And when it got to the bridge, I said, do you mind if I sing the backing vocals on the bridge? Because the lyrics in the bridge are just so emotional and emotive that I just thought I need to do that. And when I listened back to the recording, they sat there and they recorded me singing it on their iPhones. I could hear myself almost just like breaking to sing these notes. Like it was just, I don't even know how I sang that high, to be honest, but I was like screaming and yearning for, and it was how I felt. I was just so desperate to meet my daughter and to love her and to teach her these things. And I definitely think that there's a lot of that in this song. As you know, I've always been a very honest songwriter. Music for me is about making other people feel things. And if I've been through something, then so have so many people out there. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't talk to anyone about my IVF journey. I kept it all so close because I thought it was something we shouldn't talk about. And when I got sick, I thought it was something we shouldn't talk about. And after I had Georgia, I had placenta retention for 7 weeks and then became very sick again. And it was like all this stuff that you just think you've got to, keep inside. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore, because that person out there needs to see that. So that when you see the signs, you don't just ignore it or go, you know what, I'm a mother now. I don't have time to look after myself, because if you're not here, who's going to look after your beautiful kids or your baby or your husband or, and so, yeah, that's really what I wanted to get out. And I'm so thankful that it did.
Yeah. It's an incredible song. And also just back to what you were saying earlier about while you were pregnant, and the whole thing about the focus is on the baby, not the mother. And this is something that I know from my studies in a certain subject, that it wasn't until ultrasound technology came around and we could see the babies that actually that started to become the case, that the baby was prioritized, and because you never used to be able to see the baby, the mother was the focus. And it's great in some respects, but it does lead to these circumstances where you can feel like everything's focused away from you and your well-being. And yeah, there is no one more important than you. In George's eyes, there is no one more important than you. So,
well, yes, and this is what I said to my doctor, you know, in the final days when I decided, no, this doesn't come out because I'm not going to be okay to look after her. I literally said to him exactly those words. I said, okay, but what happens when she comes out and I'm unwell, I can't look after her. I need to bring her out now while I'm you know, okay. And to be honest though, still the day before the scheduled you know, cesarean, which was all booked in because I wasn't allowed to even try for a natural pregnancy because of my terribly high blood pressure and things. But I was up at the hospital for just a routine appointment, and I said to the anaesthetist, I don't feel very well. And she said, maybe you should just go up and check, you know, get the girls to check you. And yeah, I was right. Well, I wasn't very well. But then things sort of plateaued and I felt okay. And I remember someone brought me an egg and lettuce sandwich, and I was, you know, just eating it. And my mum was there with me, and my doctor was there, but there were midwives there chatting. And then something happened. I don't know what happened, but someone obviously figured that something had gone terribly wrong with me. And they put the machines back on, and, you know, to check Georgia and everything. And my blood pressure and everything, and I don't know how it all works because I'm, you know, I'm not in that field, but it's just, gosh, I just wish I did understand it a little bit more. But it's we lost Georgia as a result of whatever was going on with me. And one of the midwives just went boom on the big orange or green or whatever color button it was, and made everyone listen. And I just will be so forever thankful for that beautiful lady. And it took a woman, sorry man, but it took a woman to actually stand up and be brave and strong and listen. And so it's just, yeah, it is really incredible. And if you're out there, just advocate for yourself, or make sure your husband does, or your mum, or you know, just be strong, because you're the only people that will truly do that.
And you are here, and you do have beautiful Georgia. And you have this song, and you've mentioned that since having Georgia, this has reignited the creative fire in you. And I think that's also what I can hear in things I've learned. But I'm interested in what that feels like for you now, in terms of whether it's your songwriting a lot, or whether it's just this feeling like momentum. The word you mentioned earlier, this momentum is now back, and you're not quite sure where it will take you. Might be interesting to see where it takes you.
Yes, I think you're right with the latter. It's absolutely ignited a fire within me. I had released my fourth album right before COVID hit. Literally, I think it was like a month before or something, and I had the national tour scheduled, and had to postpone and postpone and postpone and postpone and move dates, and then cancel. And you know, to be honest, I lost a lot of money. I'd worked 3 jobs, saving money to pay for my album and everything. Because I don't have a record label or manager or anything actually. But that really hurt. And my husband's dad was dying at the time, so I just focused all of my energies into him, into keeping him alive and trying all these different natural things. And sadly, we lost him a little while afterwards. But it changed everything. All of that you know, all of those events just changed everything I thought and felt about music even. And it truly took Georgia to bring that fire back, because even though I thought I never wanted it again, I never wanted to do it again, I never wanted to put myself on the stage again, now I want to show Georgia that mummy can do it's okay to do things that scare you. It's okay to put yourself up on that stage, even though it scares you to death, because you're doing XYZ and you're making what people feel, and you know, you're sharing things that are important and worthy. And it's just amazing, I think, the shift from going oh, now I'm going to be a mother and I'm going to work full time, whatever else, and I'm going to be really happy, to going, hang on a second, but I want to tell Georgia about that time I went to Egypt
Mhm.
and sang for the troops. And I want to tell Georgia about the time I traveled to Norway and to England with a guitar on my back on my own, playing shows every night. And, just all that stuff that just scares you so much. But it's just, I want to share that now. I've got someone that I want to share that with more than anything.
Yeah. So that idea of being scared as well is such an interesting one because it can go either way, right? That you can feel the fear and do it anyway, or you can feel the fear and give into it. And so often there's that saying, yeah, we regret the things we haven't done. But it sounds like you don't have cause to have regrets on that front. You have felt that fear and done things.
Yes, absolutely. And I think um, anyone that knows that fear of putting yourself sort of in front of so many people and things like that, and even just walking down the carpet, all that scary stuff, like it's next level anxiety. It's just, oh, it's it's crazy the way that it makes you feel. But at the end of it, when you do actually get through it, it's just the most rewarding thing, because you know that you've pushed through that. And it really, I do, that's one of the things I do want to teach my daughter, is that exact thing, that you can push through that and get to the other side. If it's important to you can do it.
So creatively, artistically, what do the scary things look like for you now? Like, is it, oh, I'm going to set a goal to do an album within this time frame, or is it just I want to get back on the road with a baby? And obviously, Amber Lawrence has done it. People do it. Fanny Lawrence has done it,
Yes.
but it's not logistically. It's not the most straightforward thing.
No, it's not, absolutely. And that is something that definitely scares me. I have a very, very busy husband, so and he knows that it's true that he's not able to be around very often, and so I do a lot of the parenting myself, and there for mornings and there for nights and whatever else. So it is going to be difficult, and that does pose some scariness and anxiety and things, because I'm like, but how? I mean, at the moment it's even difficult. To try and get my body back on track, like the things that a woman goes through, obviously physically.
Mhm.
Well, some women don't seem to blow up, but I certainly did. I blew up like an absolute bowling ball, with a preeclampsia and things. And um, it was just, and I'm really struggling to get even that side of me back. So that's a scary part as well. And that's part of it's really a tough thing with the music industry, because you've got to put your body forward as well. You've got to put your appearance forward, and I've never been this size. I've never been uncomfortable in my skin like this before, and that's difficult to get on stage and go, I'm Aleyce Simmonds and I'm this singer and I've been doing this for 20 years, but I'm not confident in my body. But one of my best friends actually said to me yesterday, and this has changed my view on it a little bit. She said, but you need to do, making a music video next Tuesday. And she said, you need to go and make that music video being 100% who you are, and showing your daughter that it's okay, that you can do things even when you're not feeling 100%, or when you don't quite like who you're looking at in the mirror. That's inspiring
Mhm.
for her and for others to look back and go, well, she can do that even though she's not the weight that she wants to be at, or whatever it may be. And I'm looking at it like that now. It is what it is. This is who I am right now, and
Mhm.
I've just got to put my best self forward.
I also think the body is an incredibly smart mechanism and organism. It's always striving towards homeostasis. So in order to bring a small human into the world with all the difficulties you've had, your body will make some adjustments. I've seen it time and time again. Those bodies settle when they're ready. Like when the job's done, they're like, okay, I need to be like this for a while. I need to be in this condition or this shape or whatever it is. And then once things are circling back to normal, I shift and change. And it's one of those miraculous things. It really is.
Well, I hope that time's coming soon for me, but but in saying that, it's I just absolutely, the mothers that do get up at 4 a.m. and go for a run just inspire me so much. I've not yet been in the right. Uh, I don't know what the right really word is for it, but I've been sort of a bit too scared about leaving Georgia at that time too, because if my husband is home, he snores terribly and he doesn't wake up for anyone. So I'm like, what if she wakes up and I'm not here, you know?
Yeah.
Plus, when she was 6 months old, she was terribly sick with flu and things, and I took her out of her bassinet where she was totally happy and started co-sleeping. And I'm loving it too much now. That I know it's frowned upon by some, but I'm loving it too much that I'm like, okay, I know we have to get her back into her cot somehow, but oh, what about those midnight snuggles? And so you know, of course, I don't want her to fall out of the bed, which is probably more likely why I don't get up and go for a run.
Yeah. Well, she's obviously liking it too. Otherwise, she'd be like, kids are very good at stating what they need, right? No, enough now.
True.
So with this song out, have you been writing others?
Yes, I have, and I've actually been recording others. So I've got another song. It's along the same sort of line, to be honest. It's called Really Living, and that will be released in the next couple of months. And it's just all about, you know, really grabbing hold of life and living it. And I think we can all be really guilty of not doing that, of just bumbling along through life, you know, trying to pay the mortgage and going to work and getting home and cooking dinner and, you know, not really truly living in the moment. And so the next song's about that. And then I do also have a special, I haven't recorded this yet. Still trying to get my head around actually how we're even going to do it. But actually, you or your listeners might actually have an idea, some ideas on this. I'm wanting to release a very special new one, Mighty Love, to celebrate the 20 years. But I really want to do it differently. And it's such a huge, big song that I'm like, but what do we do? Do we strip it back completely, or do we jazz it up, or do we, you know, rock it out, or what do we do with it to make it different?
Maybe you do all of it and release an EP of different versions of it.
I could do that. That's a good idea.
Then you get to try it all out, and then think, all right, well, I can't choose between all of these versions. I'm going to put them all out together.
That's a great idea. There you go.
But if anyone who's listening does have ideas, then they can leave you a comment on social media, I am sure.
Yes, thank you.
Well, this is a terrific song, as I've said. I think it's really a song that rewards, and being a mother as well, they are of a piece. But the latest one is Things I've Learned. I think it rewards repeated listening. I think it rewards really sitting closely with it and being with you in it, because we can really hear you. And I will let you go because it's a Sunday afternoon when we're talking, and you're up there in the midday sun. And
it's not too bad, actually. I was really hot down Peel Street before, but up here with the beautiful breeze, it's quite nice. I've enjoyed it.
Well, it's been lovely to talk to you, Aleyce, and thank you so much for showing us your heart in the song and in this interview.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much for all your support.